Hello and welcome to the Vulgar Observer. I'm one of your hosts, Sidewinder, and then we have to my right,
B-Town.
B-Town.
Spicy.
B-Boy.
The one and only Ski Genius giving a real skitty G.
What's up, guys?
Hey, Juan.
And we're in the missing host formation. Juan is not with us. He's no longer with us right now.
For the moment.
Yeah.
He's not dead, he's just sleepy.
He's probably sleeping. He probably fell asleep.
I don't blame him.
He went home early and took a nap.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so welcome. Thanks for joining us. Got a lot to talk about, so let's just go right into it, man. Talk a little bit of news, then we'll talk a little bit about our favorite things, which is our favorite topic. Some movies, comic books, all the nerdy stuff that everyone likes nowadays. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, going right into it, the big news of the week. Henry Cavill out supposedly as Superman.
Like the biggest news that's like not news in the same day.
Yeah, like I think it trumped.
Trump.
It trumped Trump. Yeah, it did.
The hurricane didn't kill 3,000 people.
Yeah, I know. Well, Henry Cavill supposedly a report from Hollywood Reporter saying that Henry Cavill is out as Superman in the Warner Brothers DCEU, DCU, whatever they call it. Yeah, man, that's huge. I think that's huge. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I think it was huge, right? That morning, I think we had run into each other, and then we were talking about it for a second, and just both kind of flabbergasted. And then about 3 hours later, it was no longer a story because Warner Brothers and his agent both came out and said, none of that is true. He's still Superman.
Yeah.
They just don't have any movies lined up for him yet, but he's not going anywhere, kind of thing.
They also had scheduling conflicts for him to be in Shazam,
Mm-hmm.
which probably would have been cool if that movie's good, but I don't think it's going to be.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how every time they wanted him to come out, he always had something else to do.
He always had a mustache, and that shit's expensive to get rid of.
Yeah, but that's a good point, though, because like something else was always lining up, and then I think a lot of this comes from him joining on to the Witcher, to the new Netflix
project. Because
project.
he's a huge comic, or what is that?
It's like a fantasy book,
Yeah,
like a fantasy series.
He's huge into that.
Video game.
Yeah,
he would rather do
video game as well.
2 seasons of that than be a... He's just bigger than Superman now. Bigger than Superman.
I mean, that role has made him a household name, and then he's a talented actor away from just being Superman. He's also, in my opinion, an excellent Superman. But there was another report that I was reading today. This was just like comicbook.com.
Yeah.
This was actually comicbook.com reporting on behalf of like TMZ that TMZ was coming out and saying that everything that came out yesterday was fabricated by Henry Cavill's team. That they're saying that somebody in that camp spoke to them and was like, they're using this as a leverage opportunity for him to get more money for the next time that he is Superman.
Yeah.
So they're drumming up all this internet, hoopla and all this, these passionate fans lobbying for him to stay on. And then, so according to the reports, it's basically him just like going back to war and like, look, see, you guys should give me more money, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it happens.
So who knows? Who knows what's really the case? The only thing that is certain is that he is still Superman.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a common tactic now for agents and actors and stuff, like they had the Chris Pine and dang, I forgot his name.
Hemsworth.
Yeah, Hemsworth.
Yeah, that's a good example, yeah.
Yeah, like those guys.
What was that? Did I miss that one?
So they were supposed to be in the new Star Trek movie.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so, but yeah, other industry, people that know the industry better just say it's okay, don't worry about it. But I feel like with this, like, everyone is, like, freaking out. Like, even the people that are in the know, supposedly, like, even they're like, damn, man, like, this is going down, Like,
he really made that role his own. I mean,
Yeah.
he was, I think it's pretty clear that even though there were a lot of people that were critical of him, the overwhelming majority were in support of like, oh man, that was my Superman or something. He's the Superman of the current generation.
Yeah.
And he's been doing, a lot of people consider it he's been doing a really good job. I really like him as Superman. I'm a huge Superman fan, so I'm very critical. But I like what he's done with it, and that hurt me a little bit when I read that story in the beginning, especially when I was like, who's reporting this? And then I read, and it was like the Hollywood Reporter. I was like, oh man, the Hollywood Reporter's
Also,
saying
it's weird
it.
that
Damn.
no one ever leaves a spot like that, and now DC has had Batman and Superman, the two biggest comic characters of all time.
Well, I think it's like a perfect storm too, because not only it's like Henry Cavill's stuff going on with The Witcher and like him doing other things, but it was also
Passion projects.
Yeah, his passion projects. The other thing that was coming out was partly Affleck's thing too. So I'm like, is he coming? Is he going? So if that TMZ report is to believe, did they just like also latch onto that and be like, oh, you know what, they're coming here? Because then what the Hollywood Reporter was trying to get at was that it also wasn't his decision. It was Warner Brothers firing him.
Yeah.
That it was Warner Brothers firing him because they want to do a soft reboot. And they want to get, like the report says, that there were no Superman movies planned for a few years. That they're going to put some stock into Supergirl, which they are developing, that they're putting their money into Supergirl, and then that starts like a soft reboot with a new Batman and all this stuff. But now none of that can, that does not no longer seem to be the case because Henry Cavill is still Superman.
Did you guys see the meme that came out yesterday? The meme?
No.
It was a picture of the Justice League in like just this random stock photo of like them not in their costumes hugging each other.
Oh yeah.
And it was after Thanos snapped his finger.
Yeah.
And Batman and Superman, like Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck, are fading away.
Yeah.
Shout out to Juan for sending it around to the group.
Oh, did he send that to us? I was looking through my Instagram. I'm sitting here looking for
It was
it.
Juan's Instagram page.
Damn it.
Yeah. He said, yeah. So I did see that actually.
Yeah, perfect.
No, yeah. I mean,
Group chats.
yeah. Yeah. So I feel like it's either way, it's a mess. Like I feel like just in general, it's a mess. Like the way DC has handled the universe with the movies and the PR and everything. It's just been crazy. That's why a lot of people just don't like any of their movies. I like them. I thought Superman was really great. It's the only one of all those. Actually, I own Superman and Man of Steel and Batman and Superman. Batman v Superman.
Good choices.
The extended cut, which I think is
the Snyder cut.
Yeah, which is
that's
way
the only
better.
way to go.
Yeah, it's
that
way
extra
better.
like 35, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Like it redeems Lex Luthor. It makes you see how brilliant he is and not just crazy. He was planning it for years.
Can you go into those 30, 40 minutes? Like by line?
I was saying that for My Hero Academia talk at the end here.
Yeah.
Welcome to My Hero Academia talk.
No, I just wanted to say, do you think Disney would let Michael B. Jordan get away because he's already been casted, or supposedly casted again in Black Panther 2, and being the Human Torch? There's no way he gets away.
He's going to come back as a Force Ghost in Black Panther 2.
Yeah. No, he really will be. He'll be on the astral plane.
Spoiler alert! If you
He's going
haven't
to
seen
sit down
Black
on a
Panther.
log next to T'Challa. What's good, B?
But he's going to be a puppet. He and Yoda just sitting there like marionettes, not mannequins.
Yeah, I mean,
No, but to your point, it's a mess. That's why we believe this story, right? We believe this story because as much as I'm in the same boat as you. I know, Brian, you don't follow it loosely because you don't invest in it, which I don't disagree with.
I honestly love the fact that they've just fucked this all up.
They really have. I mean, it's a mess, and it's too bad because the roster of heroes that they have has much more potential. I'll say this totally, like much more potential than Marvel does, because even when the movies were bad, they still made a ton of money. Imagine if they were good, they would with the right kind of time, they could eclipse Marvel. But now, who knows when that happened, if it'll happen.
Suicide Squad was maybe the worst movie I'd ever seen. And then they followed up with Batman v Superman, which there was nothing wrong with
Batman
it.
v Superman was before.
I can't remember exactly.
Squad.
There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with Justice League. They just can't. They can't decide if they're edgy and dark or for the kids and families, and they just don't. They don't know what they want to do.
They don't have somebody at the helm. There's too many cooks in the kitchen. people talking over each other, and they don't have that Kevin Feige guy that's like, this is where we're going.
Well, and they're like, this is the next 18 movies we're doing.
Right.
And then, like, 10 years have passed, and they've made 6 movies total.
They kind of did that though, and then they are like, oh, well, we're not doing this one anymore. Oh, we're not doing this one anymore.
Yeah, never mind.
Oh, we're going to do a Joker movie, but we're going to have Robert De Niro be a Joker, and we're going to have
Well, like, also even think back
Joaquin
Joaquin
Phoenix.
yeah.
Joe Quinn Phoenix.
Joe Quinn.
Well,
Phoenix.
even think back to like Green Lantern. Like Green Lantern was supposed to be like they're dipping their toe into the water of its cinematic universe, and then it was really bad, and they were like, "Oh, we didn't want to do it anyway. We're just kidding. It's fine. It's fine. Like we didn't want to do it."
I kind of
so it's
hope
fine."
Henry Cavill comes back and he's Hal Jordan.
I would not.
But
hate
in the
that.
current cinematic universe, and it's just like, what the fuck's going on here?
There's so many Elseworld stories where you could have
Yeah.
Superman, Green Lantern. Now my head is
Yeah.
spinning. Illuminati is real.
Well, yeah, and then something we talked about before, and just kind of, I guess, reiterating it, is that, yeah, it's just a disappointment, Like, you got 2 really great actors. You got all these people, all these guys that are in the current universe. They're all great actors, good actors, and
It's a good roster.
it's a good roster, and then you just kind of, like, it's almost like a waste,
Right.
know? And
It is.
Not
So
to digress more, but like I feel like Jason Momoa
Yeah.
is being wasted in the DC universe. I
that
feel like-
remains to be seen though, because we haven't seen Aquaman.
no, I don't care because he could have been Drax, and then
Yeah, he decided not to.
you know what I'm saying, like, and they're just gonna fuck that up too. And Jason Momoa is gonna be rich in shitty movies.
I don't know if that's going to be the case, because here's my thing: is I have now that this is untrue, I have a cautious optimism with DC. Even I still think they're a total mess. I'm not going to cover that up and like dumb it down or anything. I think things are a mess, but I think ever since Wonder Woman, things are starting to shift in a better direction than they were before Wonder Woman, and I think a big part of that, which a lot of people, who are casual fans, which is totally understandable, don't see, is because of Jeff Johns shifting his role within DC and Warner Brothers too. So a big name writer for DC Comics for many years, and then he goes into, they basically give him this president title of like president of entertainment for DC Entertainment. But it ended up being not the good fit for him because he's a creator. He's not like a Feige guy where he's not a businessman, right?
Right.
So they
He's a creative, yeah.
Yeah, so they were like, okay, well, we're going to let him be a creator again. So now he's an executive producer, and we're using his production company. And then the first time they tried that was with Wonder Woman, and it was a hit. And now they're doing it again where he develops the story for Aquaman, and Aquaman is looking good. It has better buzz behind it right now than most other DC movies had at this point,
Yeah.
going into its production and the release. And now he's also, he made his name by creating those Green Lantern stories, and he's creating the new Green Lantern stories, and he says he's fully invested, and it's going to be his story. So if they let him do his thing and they pull that shit out of the way, it could be good. But it's all big ifs, and we don't really know, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna end my thought on this with
Yeah.
a conspiracy theory.
Surprise.
Yeah, no, it's a good one. Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck are being paid off by Mickey Mouse to throw the Justice League series in the DC FU.
So that Henry Cavill can be Captain Britain.
And yes, so I wasn't gonna go into specifics like that, but I like where your head's at. And it's going to lead to
Ben Affleck could come back as Daredevil.
yes.
Old man Daredevil.
But
Oh,
no. In the grander scheme of things, Disney's gonna buy DC.
Oh, yeah, I saw it.
So they're
that.
they're
Yeah, I
going.
mean, we talked about it, right?
They're
We
throwing.
talked about it.
They're throwing it. They're gonna get their characters back into the MCU, and then DC is gonna be bought up by that big-eared mouse.
So Disney's gonna own everything officially.
Yep.
Now that makes you think, like, was Bob Iger and like all the Disney folks back in the day were like to George Lucas, like, you should totally make prequels, man. Like, forget, everybody would love them. Do it the way you want to do it, and just like, and then everybody came back like, what are you doing? They're like, don't worry, just wait, give me 20 years. And then he wrote out a check for $4 billion, and then Bob Iger swam in a pool of money like like some Scrooge McDuck and said, "See."
Nice. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. It's crazy.
It's a hell of a thing.
Yeah, it is a hell of a thing.
Long live Superman.
He's
Hopefully.
dead. He's dead.
Hopefully.
They shouldn't even brought him back.
Spoiler.
Hey, the
More
animated movies are
spoilers.
good.
So yeah, well, yeah, that's our news for the week, I guess. So let's go on to.
Did we digress?
No, we didn't digress because we're going right into our next topic, which is actually related to this. So.
It's funny how that works.
Yeah, it is funny how that works.
Like
Like
we
almost like we
planned it.
planned it 5 minutes before we started.
We talked about it earlier.
I've been saying let's get this shit planned out, and you guys don't want to do it. Lazy.
I don't plan anything unless I'm eating chicken fingers while I'm doing it.
So yeah, obviously we all love comic books, superheroes, and all that. So and movies. So what's your sometimes movies? I don't know. Are superhero movies though? I don't know. A lot of people like
Depends
to
on who
say
you
they're
ask,
not.
right?
Yeah, it depends on who you ask.
Oh, that's some foreshadowing? Holy shit!
Yeah, there you go.
Fuck.
Yeah, we took 10 minutes to discuss what this was going to be about.
This podcast is like Lost. At the end of it, you're not
Yeah.
going to see what's coming
Yeah.
next.
All right, so yeah, our favorite comic book movies. So they could be anything. It could be any movie that was, or any comic that was turned into.
This is where
movie.
planning 5 minutes of 4 is gonna come back and bite me in the ass because now I gotta think of 3 comic book
You're
movies.
gonna be
that-
like,
That's why you're going to go last.
Superman,
I like Henry Cavill as Superman.
How many Spider-Man movies were there?
Spider-Man, Wolverine.
Yeah, okay. It's hitting me. I've got a couple popping
Okay,
up.
go ahead.
Do
You
it.
can
No,
start.
no, no. I'm not starting.
Oh,
Leo,
all
you
right.
want to start?
Yeah, sure. I'll start. So, yeah,
Comptroller Leo.
like I
Let's
said,
go.
comic books, right?
Yeah.
It had to have been a comic book at some point. My favorite of all time is 1991 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Wow, Juan's not even here.
I know, right? He's
That's
Fucking
why
bastard.
because right now he'd be
Wow.
so he's pissed. He's listening to this right now and he's pissed at you.
Yeah.
He just threw his $200 Raphael against the window. It's out a window.
Yeah, so Ninja Turtles, I mean, I remember going to the theater and seeing it. I was so excited. And when we got to VHS, I watched.
What's that?
It's
It's like a big cassette tape,
yeah, it's like a big cassette tape. What's a cassette tape?
but it kind of plays video
Yeah. Yeah,
Do you
sometimes.
rewind it?
with a pencil.
Yeah. So yeah, Ninja Turtles. Obviously loved it when I was a kid. Movie came out. It was great. I still watch it today, and
Yeah,
it's
that-
great. I know every line.
Like
It's-
that movie doesn't get enough credit for those suits because they
Oh,
were
yeah.
fucking amazing.
I mean, they still hold up.
Jim
Those
Henson,
no,
suits
they're
are good.
perfect. Like
yeah,
compared
those are
to
good.
Jim Henson.
What's
Were they Jim Henson?
Yeah, Jim
really?
Henson. Yeah.
They
Yep.
looked like Kermit a little bit.
It's Trotter.
What the hell was that?
It was Kermit.
Nah, it's like when you
Drinking
look at
beer.
it, it's way better than who did the last Teenage Mutant Ninja
Ugh.
Turtles movie? Michael Bay.
Yeah, Michael Bay.
Oh,
Those
they're like
are-
the Nickelodeon movies.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's cool that if you're gonna do, I assume they're all motion capture, but they just looked like shit.
Yeah, it's all CGI.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, you could still like. We've seen Andy Serkis pull off cool CGI. None of those guys were fucking good at it. It cost too much money.
Even the way the characters were designed themselves, it just looked super bizarre and kind of like hippies.
Yeah.
Like, it was
Yeah.
weird.
1991.
It
1
doesn't-
years old. Remember that movie?
It
Fondly.
it doesn't get better than. I'll give you that. It doesn't get better than those
Yeah.
suits. Those suits were awesome.
Yeah, and just
Number 2, not so good though.
yeah. No.
Was that Casey Jones in
Actually,
number two?
I didn't mind number 2. I thought it was okay.
Was Casey Jones in number 2?
Yes, very briefly.
Yeah.
No, wait. No, he wasn't.
No, it
he
was
was in
in one?
He was in part 3 though.
Yeah, part
Oh.
3.
He was in part 3. Part 3 is the
This
worst.
not trying to digress here, but that makes me want to go down like for a future episode, like the best porn parody.
I feel like you have a secret bet that we don't know about. How many times you could say digress? How much is Ted paying you?
No, like I think it would be hilarious to like find the best porn spoof of your favorite movie, because there is a 10-inch mutant Ninja Turtle
See,
one.
if we did that category, you're ready now.
I am
Yeah,
ready. Yeah. All right, Joey, what's your pick?
Um, So I'll do two. I'll do my favorite one, and I think I'll do my most underrated one. So my favorite one.
I thought we were all taking turns here. So
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I'll do that one later. I'll
one
do that
at
one
a
later.
time or whatever,
I'll do my top favorite.
Yeah,
Mine
yeah.
is
do I have to explain to you how this is working?
look. Maybe.
This is a podcast.
This isn't Joey's podcast.
Look, on September 10th, I fell into a hole. I was watching a lot of theories. Never mind.
Yeah, that was me.
No, my all-time favorite is The Dark Knight, which I think you guys already know that, but I think for me it is still the pinnacle of how you balance a real-world kind of situation with these larger-than-life superheroes, and then also, arguably the best villain you've ever seen in a movie. That performance is incredible. I saw it again in IMAX last week, 2 weeks ago, when I was in LA. So there were 4 theaters in the world that were playing the 10th anniversary IMAX release, and one of them happened to be right in LA. And I went with my girlfriend to go see it, and it was still amazing, and people were still freaking out. Like the theater was full, and people were still like cheering and laughing, and it's just there's something
That's
about
not
that
a
movie that's
super funny movie.
amazing. The Joker is pretty good though. Like his terrifying moments, like when he's funny, he's pretty funny, and also just one of the best uses of practical effects in one of those big budget superhero movies. For me, it's still the best. That's kind of exhibited that where there's super minimal CGI and a lot of it is practical effects. And it's also a beautiful showcase of how awesome Chicago is.
Yeah.
There's so much Chicago in that movie. I love it.
Filmed in Chicago, directed by Christopher Nolan.
He's from Evanston, which is funny enough.
Yeah, and then
Also from England.
His cinematographer
Grew up in Evanston too. Yeah.
His cinematographer's Columbia grad.
Mhm.
So last Chicago
Surprised
Ties.
Vince Vaughn was not in it.
But yeah, I think it's a great movie. It's like the pinnacle of, at the time, superhero movies. I still think it is. I mean,
For me, it is.
it's like, to me, it's like it's Christopher Nolan, who's a great filmmaker, right? Making a superhero film that didn't feel like a superhero, like what we would think of like a comic book superhero movie nowadays.
It's a crime drama.
Yeah, it's
Like,
a crime drama.
It's
based in reality.
It's
yeah.
a noir styled crime drama. It's a thriller crime drama. It's kind of like watching Heat. Like a lot of it is
Yeah.
like that crazy where it's so back and forth, and you find yourself almost cheering for the villain sometimes, even though you know he's a maniac.
Yeah.
And it's like there's so much in that movie that also kind of spawns, which Christopher Nolan's really good at, with like leaving you with an idea and kind of leaving it open-ended, like up to your interpretation.
Right.
Like the one thing that I still subscribe to, and I really like this theory, and after seeing it again in such a big format, was like I really think that version of the Joker was actually once a police officer. I think he really was part of the GCPD. He got locked up for who knows what, lost his faith in the system, and became an anarchist. That's my ice machine going. Don't worry, it's not Dracula, you guys. I've checked
I've checked many times. Yeah, no, I agree. I think
I've
it's
always
a great film.
liked that. My conspiracy theory about the Joker is that he
here
was
we go.
military, not Gotham police, because he was calculated and tactical.
I would agree with that into a certain part too, but it seems like he knew a lot about police protocol, and he knew a lot about where he was locked up in Gordon's unit in that building. Like he knew a lot about that area. He knew where to be. He knew who to like where to go, where to find keys, and like how to get Lau out of lockup. Like he knew too much. He even stole a cop car. I think he was a police officer, but we'll never know.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Which is fine with me actually too. Like I'm good with that open ending. Like I love it.
Yeah.
But great movie.
Yeah.
Brian,
My turn? You done? You sure?
I could talk a little bit more.
So this is just going to be more because I think it's just a really cool. Not that I've ever read the comic or anything like that, but I thought Scott Pilgrim vs. the World was a pretty good
I've heard about
representation of comic book to movie. It was the casting was great because the little guy
George
George Michael.
George Michael.
Yeah. Michael
Michael Cera.
Yeah.
Michael Cera was great as that character. And if I knew more of the backstory of like all the issues and what was going on, but it just like the way they delivered it, when they killed people and the coins popped out of them, like just everything about it was
That's
just
cool.
cool and
It was a fun movie.
it was
seen it,
fun.
yeah.
Like it's just really fun going through the X's and seeing them fight. And Chris Evans is in it. He's got another comic book movie.
Brandon Routh is in it too.
Yeah,
as a killer vegetarian.
Yeah, there's just a lot of cool things. It's easy to watch because it's fun.
Yeah.
And Michael Cera's quirky as shit, in every other movie that he does. And
It's an Edgar Wright movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say Edgar Wright. Yeah. Yeah.
what one did he was doing Ant-Man, right?
He developed the
was.
story for Ant-Man. He was supposed to
And then
direct
dropped
it.
out. Yeah.
He had creative differences, but he still got a writer's credit for it, and he's still executive producer.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't have a lot to say about it just because it's not like it's not my overall favorite, but I don't think anybody else is ever going to give it the justice that it deserves.
I think that's actually pretty fair, because especially given the time period. I mean, I can't remember off the top of my head when that thing came out, but
I'm going to guess 2010.
I was going to say you're talking almost 10 years ago. So, but for the time period, you hadn't really seen a movie that was kind of crossing that many genres and doing animated stuff in 8-bit form mixed in with it's almost kind of like a Roger Rabbit approach to a video game movie, right? Where you have these kind of big video game elements that we're actually having real world
It's just there was no
consequences.
Jessica Rabbit.
There never will be. And there never will be.
That's still the best story I've ever seen come across the internet. My son won't quit jerking off to Jessica Rabbit.
Scott Pilgrim versus the World is 2010.
Yeah. See?
Nice.
Lock. Steel trap. What's your number 2, Leo?
Number 2. Yeah. You know what? I can't think of one right now.
Oh, no. I thought it was going to be me.
No. Yeah. No. So.
Edit this part out.
No. What did I? Okay. So it's not my favorite, but it's one that I thought of that no one is gonna mention this one, but it came out after. I forgot what year it came out, but it was after I think the first Tim Burton Batman came out, and then all the studios are like, "Oh man, we gotta put out more superhero movies. Oh, what are some superhero movies we can get? We can't get DC, we can't get Marvel. Okay, well let's look at older stuff. I know, let's do The Shadow and The Phantom. Yeah. So for whatever reason, I really liked The Shadow. Have you ever seen that?
I've never
heard of it.
this.
Holy shit!
It was What's it? Alec
Baldwin.
Alec Baldwin
Yeah,
is the
Alec
Shadow.
Baldwin.
It's an old pulp comic.
Yeah, old pulp comic.
Before Superman and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Thomas Wayne?
No.
He was like a Bruce Wayne type though.
No.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Lamont Cranston.
Wasn't-
Yeah,
Alec
millionaire
Baldwin.
playboy man about town or
Yeah.
whatever.
Wasn't Alec Baldwin just cast as Thomas Wayne, or am I making that up?
No,
it
he
was
is
a
cast.
rumor,
He is
yeah.
no, he is cast. He's cast as Thomas
But
Wayne in the
he
Joker
backed
movie.
out. He backed
But
out.
then he
Oh,
came
did he
out,
really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he came out and said
Oh.
he's not.
It was
That's too bad.
I was trying to make a joke, and
I thought he
no one
was in
got
there.
it.
So yeah, it was
I'm just excited.
it was an old pulp comic book. Then it was a radio drama. But basically, the premise is this guy, rich billionaire or whatever. It's actually kind of like The Dark Knight Rises almost. So he gets lost in the Tibetan mountains or
Right,
whatever,
yeah.
and then he trains to be this.
It's kind of like Iron Fist.
Yeah, it's kind of like Iron Fist too. Yeah, there you go.
The more you
So
were
basically-
taking it, it was like, yeah, he's like an Iron Fist.
So
he inherits
basically-
his power.
Yeah, so basically what he does is
So he was in Kunlun?
no, so he uses
Kunlun.
Kunlun?
yeah, he uses his mental powers or whatever. He can make you not see him basically. So that's why they call him the Shadow. But then when they would shine a light at him, you could see his shadow. Hence the Shadow. And he had these dual pistols and a
red
red
scarf,
mask,
yeah.
red scarf.
Covering his face with
Yeah.
that, like Indiana Jones hat. Kind of
Super
thing
cheesy movie, but it reminded me of The Rocketeer, which I think was a comic as well.
Yeah.
Phantom, yeah, around
Actually,
that time.
I love the Rocketeer.
I think it was early 90s as well, all those movies came out. So that's one that came to mind. I don't want to mention all the other ones because everyone already knows that Logan's the best comic book movie.
It was.
My next pick is actually the best comic book movie. So go ahead, Joey.
I was actually so.
Oh, are you stuck now too?
No, because I'm
assholes.
going in another direction, and the one that I was hinting at earlier, which is, for me the most underrated one, and that was, for me, it's Watchmen. I think Watchmen is an amazing.
I was gonna mention that too.
I've definitely talked about this before too. I think Watchmen is the most faithful comic book adaptation of all time.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Yeah, I mean the casting was brilliant. It like just watching it felt like you were rereading it again.
I've actually never watched this movie, so I don't know why I know that he's in it.
Because it's super
Because it's
legit.
good.
It's really good, but it's so faithful. I wish Alan Moore would have seen it because I feel like he might actually be okay with it, but obviously he does not like his properties to be made into anything. But the only big significant change in that movie is basically the monster at the end, or the calamity at the end of it, right? So instead of it being a huge alien that landed and destroyed New York, it was an atomic bomb that was blamed on Dr. Manhattan. They blamed the alien on Dr. Manhattan too, but whatever. I think that one is just the tone of the movie, the casting, and I can't remember the guy's name, but the guy they picked for Rorschach, how terrifying.
Oh, yeah.
He's just terrifying, and he just sells it.
Yeah.
And he's a total madman.
great.
And, there's that one scene, and it's one of the most horrific scenes in the book where he's in prison. He's about to get fucked up because he's a little he's a little redheaded man, like 5'8", skinny redheaded guy. Once he takes the mask off, big dude comes over. Basically, he's like, "Give me your lunch." He reaches over the counter, takes a hot vat full of oil, throws it right in his face. His skin melts off, and then he has to get tackled by like 10 orderlies. And he just screams out in the middle of it, like, "I'm not in here with you. You're in here with me."
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I'm like, that's perfect. But that was like that one scene is just a amalgamation of a lot of that movie for me, where it's just like Snyder really did his homework and he kept it faithful to one of the greatest superhero stories ever printed. And I thought the movie captured that tone incredibly, and it was a dope cast, and it was really well done, really well shot, and the action was awesome.
Yeah.
And the suits were really cool.
Yeah.
Like the way they translated those suits, Night Owl looks so cool. Like, yeah, that's a great movie for me. I love that movie.
It's probably what. Well, no, that was a Warner Brothers movie, right?
It is a Warner Brothers movie.
Yeah.
That's
So
why I think it's
Snyder was
underrated.
already-
It was a 2009 release. I
Yeah.
think if we get that movie now, it would be such a huge hit. People weren't ready for it.
But they're
People
making
make a
it
big
into
deal
a-
about like the HBO series is coming out, so that'll be interesting to
But
see.
it's different characters.
It is different characters because it takes place after the original story, so it's a continuation of the story. But basically, I think the world wasn't ready for it. People make a lot of big deal about like Deadpool being a hit for it being rated R, and the first really big rated R superhero movie. No, it was actually Watchmen. Not enough people wanted to go see it, but the people that did go see it ended up liking it.
Yeah.
It just didn't have that following. They weren't the characters weren't iconic enough going into it. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, it just kind of died on its feet. But it's still, critically praised and one of those movies that's kind of a cult hit now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I that was one of the movies I was gonna mention.
Mm-hmm.
Like I thought, yeah, it was a great film. Yeah, when it came out, I was like, man, this is really great. And then people come out saying, "Oh, this movie sucks," whatever, So I didn't get it just because it was dark. It was slower. It wasn't like big action movie. So
There was a lot of dialogue. There was a lot and which is part of the book too. I mean, there's a lot of monologuing by each one of those characters.
Yeah.
And the fact that he was able to keep that in there, and for me, like, keep it exciting, all those characters had a full story arc. They were all really well developed from top to bottom. Even somebody as big as Dr. Manhattan, there were points in there that were just absolutely terrifying. And then by the end of it, just like in the comic book, you're almost like, okay, well, the villain, is he really a villain?
yeah,
Was he doing this for everybody's good? Like, he kind of is. And, I think it captured that same tone for me. And when you're talking about one of the greatest stories ever written, it's bar none. Like, it has to be up there.
for sure. Yeah, I mean,
It
that
deserves
goes.
it.
It's like it really showed how comic books could be literary works of art.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's what Alan Moore is known for. So.
Yeah.
I really need to watch that movie.
And you haven't read the book?
Don't read his newer stuff. He's a wizard now. He's really crazy.
Yeah.
No, legitimately, he
Alan
is a
Moore's
wizard.
crazy.
He is a wizard.
Harry,
Yeah.
you're a wizard.
He will curse you.
All right. So my second one No. Get out of my face.
No.
I was trying to finish my drink there. So my second one would be the Thomas Jane Punisher movie.
Okay.
I really like that movie a lot. John Travolta is the bad guy, and like I don't know the scene where he fights the big what was he Russian in this white
that's the only thing I
white
remember
and
about that
black
movie.
stripe, and he's
You do know
hitting
we
him.
said best superhero movies, right?
To you. All right. Do you want me to throw out like Captain America, Winter Soldier, Spider-Man
Infinity
2?
War.
I'm trying to
Justice
trying to
League.
Don't make jokes, bro.
Don't make jokes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, just throw some appreciation. I'm not doing favorite.
I'm teasing
I'm doing ones that need more appreciation. How about that?
you.
Underappreciated.
Yeah.
Because my third one is underappreciated, and it's from the 90s.
What's your third one?
Blade.
Yeah. Hell yeah. That movie's
see?
awesome, man.
Punisher gets no fucking love. I say Blade. Why? Because it's a white guy?
Yeah.
It's because he was a blonde-haired white guy playing Frank Castle.
No, but Blade, for real, Blade is. I remember seeing it. I didn't watch it until I was 25, probably, like all three right in a row. And then it made me remember watching the first one. I saw it when I was a kid, and when he goes into the vampire nightclub and all the blood's raining down on him, and they're raving and doing their crazy vampire shit, and then
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
like just the whole thing, like Wesley Pipes is just the fucking man.
It's one of those movies because it's funny. It's like one of the original Marvel movies
Yeah.
that everybody forgets about. Even when it came out, like people were like, "Oh, that's a Marvel movie." Even me as a kid, I'll be the first one to admit it. I didn't realize till later. I was like, "That guy's a superhero."
Yeah, and I'm waiting.
like,
I'm
that's really cool.
waiting for like Doctor Strange to run into Wesley Snipes in New York City right now. And
Don't
be
say
like,
that to me. I think about
and
that all the time.
Benedict
I would love it.
Cumberbatch and Wesley Snipes are sitting there talking, and it's like Blade's grandson. I don't even know how it would be, but just something awesome. And then you got Norman Reedus in the second one, which was a very
Yeah, he played Scud.
yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't realize that.
Yeah, he was like 19 years old. He was a really
But
really
he
young actor.
looked the exact same.
He did.
Yeah.
He just sounded like his like voice was a little bit higher. He's like a little bit cleaner.
But I mean, that's what I think Marvel could use a little bit more. That they're into the mystic shit now, but they could really go into some like I don't even know the best word to like describe vampires and werewolves and like just the different things. I know they're going into the galaxy with all the other things, but Blade was really cool because it was in the streets of New York. He had his sword and his gun, and he was just kung fu and.
No, but I'm glad you did bring that up, and this will only be like a quick segue, but just because you guys may have
Are
seen
you
this, but
digressing?
I'm digressing hard as a motherfucker right now. But there has been a rumor from like Wesley Snipes too, that he's been talking to Marvel, that there could be a return.
He doesn't own the rights to Blade. though.
Old man Blade.
I think he might actually have a say in the production value or the production of it, because he produced those three movies, those first two
but
movies.
Marvel still owns the rights to
Right,
it.
but
they
it could-
bought it back. I was gonna make a joke and say Ghost Rider because
Right, but they
That's
could
hilarious.
now. But that's what I'm trying to say is like maybe they don't want to recast it. Maybe they have an idea where it's like we want Old Man Blade to come into this thing. Like he's been
no,
around.
they actually did use Ghost Rider and Agents of Shield too.
What if we find out later that they're retconning the three Blade movies and that was part of the MCU?
All right, yeah. So try and wrap this one up. What did you say? What's your last one?
My last one actually is going off of the Blade route. I like Blade 2 also. I think that's the better of the Blade movies.
Blade Runner?
But not a superhero. The other one that is kind of a superhero but gets lost in the shuffle because we're talking about comic book movies is the greatest fantasy comic book movie for me of all time is Hellboy 2. It's an awesome fantasy story with I knew that. Yeah, with my boy Del Toro directing. But it's also it's really well put together. Obviously, I'm a huge Hellboy fan, but I think Ron Perlman really hits his stride and really nails that character, especially in that movie. I like Hellboy 1. I don't love it. I like Hellboy 2 because they got rid of Myers, the human protagonist.
I forgot. Yeah.
And they make a joke of it right at the beginning. They're like, "You sent him to Antarctica." He's like, he said he liked the cold. So like, I think that's Del Toro kind of putting it out there, like, hey, now that I have some money and some clout, this is a big fuck you to the movie theaters or the movie studios that made me put in a white guy in this movie when I didn't want a human character in here.
Yeah.
And like he made the movie he wanted to make, and I thought it's visually it's really stunning, and it's very whimsical too. Like the whole fantasy element, and again, what makes good movies is having a good villain, and there's so many points in that movie where you finally see Hellboy questioning himself: am I doing the right thing, fighting for these people who don't give a shit about me, who actually hate me and don't want me to help them? I should help my own kind, and I should help this guy take over, the King Nuada. Like I should help him rule, and we can rule together. I think it's a brilliant movie. It's got a great story, and it's so beautiful. It's a beautiful movie.
Actually, yeah. When I saw the figure on your shelf, made me think of it. I actually did just watch it again, and I guess when the first time I saw it, I didn't realize like how good it was, basically. And so I rewatched it, and I was like, wow, this is really good. Yeah, because over a long time I considered Hellboy my favorite, and then went back and watched it. I was like, it's okay. It's all right. It's not that great.
It doesn't hold up.
Yeah, it doesn't really hold up that well.
It was fun for the time because you thought we'd never get to see a movie like that, right?
And it's Guillermo del Toro, and you're like, oh, yeah,
And that's like him starting to make a name for himself, too. Like after the second Blade movie.
Yeah. My last one, man, I don't know. For whatever reason, I keep thinking of this because I thought when it first came out, it's like, oh, man, this is really cool. What happened?
You're gonna say Dread.
I was gonna say Dread, but but I'm not.
I was just excited by Brian. Like a light bulb went off, and he's like,
I was like, I know what he's
his
gonna
hands
say.
are just flapping in the air.
Brian's
He can't
like-
wait to talk.
Brian's like, what crappy '90s movie can I think of that Leo's gonna say? This is the movie.
Yeah, old man Leo over here.
So I did think of I did think of that, but for whatever reason, I really liked Hulk. But no one liked it, man. Yeah, I really
You're
liked.
talking Edward Norton Hulk?
No,
you're talking the
Eric Bana
the first
Hulk.
one.
Yeah, with
the Edward Norton is Incredible Hulk. He's talking Hulk.
Hulk with Edward,
with those
Eric
fucking
Bana.
Hulk dogs?
Yeah, Eric Bana.
With what's his name? Who's the
Ang Lee was the
Ang
director.
Lee, that's his name.
It was cool, man. I
U
thought it was
U
cool.
of I alumni.
All right, I'm going to throw this out there.
Ang
This is
Lee.
a sad story. Not that sad because I love my dad. He took me to like 2 movies ever in my life. One of them was to see that movie, which was god awful. And then the other one was this thing called Open Range. It's like a Western.
Yeah. I think I've
And the
seen-
best part of the movie, when I'm like 12 years old hanging out with my dad, is in the middle of the movie, one of the horses, like in the background, is just full on dong out. And if you talk to me about like, what'd you do with your dad growing up? Like, we went to 2 movies ever. One was fucking Eric Bana Hulk, and one was Open Range Horse Dick.
Nice. That's some good memories.
Yeah, right?
Good movies, guys. Good movies.
Oh yeah, man, that was great.
All right, so I think that was actually fun compared to week 1 of this show. So
Yeah.
I'm wrapping it up. Bye.
No, we're not done, man.
Oh,
We
shit.
still
The
got-
night is young.
We still got a couple more things to talk about.
Next topic?
Next topic. Yeah,
Seamless.
next topic. There you go. Segue right into the next topic, which is surprisingly, it's about movies and comic book movies.
I thought we just did this part.
No, this is the new part.
This is the next part.
The next part of this is, so the Academy of Arts and Sciences, they put out their new categories for the Oscars, and what was the new category they had put out?
Yeah, so this had come out a couple of weeks ago, but there was a new category put out. It was officially named the Academy Award for Outstanding Achievement in Popular Film, and every movie star hated it.
Yeah, which is why they got rid of it.
Which
Wait,
is
they got
why,
rid of it because
yeah.
of the movie stars, not the. I don't even know anything about the Academy. Is that movie stars?
Well, the Academy
executives.
it's made up of a lot of different things. So it's former actors, former producers, you know, college professors. Like it's all over the place.
Yeah, so they made this new category. People were mad about it because they thought it sullied the prestigiousness of winning an Oscar. You know, because like you said it earlier, it's like winning a Teen Choice Award.
Yeah.
Best popular film. You know, what does that even mean? Does that mean like best Rotten Tomatoes score, best box office. Like, what is it?
Yeah, people were comparing it to like a Razzie.
Yeah, exactly.
I was
Yeah.
thinking more like high school superlative, where like, I won best smile, you won most likely to succeed.
Best title sequence. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, so it's
Best fight scene.
best kiss.
Best squirt scene. Sorry, just watched the Pornhub Awards.
So, but yeah, so it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of weird that they're trying to bring in more viewers because I guess every year like their viewership is down. So I guess maybe they thought this would be a good idea to bring in.
I think
it
was
was
more just trying to encompass the fact that the biggest movies of the year, a la Infinity War, is not going to win any awards at the Oscars or whatever the hell. Oscars?
Yeah, Oscars. Yeah.
Oscars.
It's going to go to White Boy Rick or Black Klansman, and people are going to be like, that's the best picture, but this made $1.6 billion.
Yeah.
So it was trying to like convey to like, oh, you made the most popular thing of the year, and you made the best piece of art.
Yeah, I think that's a really valid point, and to even kind of piggyback off of that a little bit as I digress is that they're facing lower and lower ratings every year. So this is them trying to grab at a little bit of a younger audience who doesn't necessarily go out to see a movie like Black Klansman or Annihilation or something like that. And they're trying to. Hey, Ex Machina won for
That's true.
best special effects, and this is the same guy, and he might do it again. But but basically, to your point, Brian, I think that's exactly what this is. It's a kind of like a little bit of a pivot, like a soft pivot for them to be like, look, we like the same stuff that you guys do as a general public audience, and we're gonna recognize that. But it blew up in their face because because they also never came out with a description. Like, they never said what it was. Like, they just said, we're going to introduce a new one, a new award, and it's going to be Outstanding Achievement in Popular Film. And then all these big-name movie stars were interviewed about it, from, like, Denzel Washington and Michael B. Jordan, and, like, Oscar Isaac got interviewed. And they all threw, like, so much shade at it. And then, like, a few days after, they were like, yeah, we were just kidding you guys. Like, that's so crazy, right? That's crazy.
I feel like the fans of those movies have to quit bitching because they tried to encompass it into this grander, like, more prestigious honor, and in my opinion, they don't deserve it. They're not, for lack of a better term, they're not like a work of art that a movie like what won last year. I don't even remember. You want to look that up?
I'm trying to actually think of it.
I was trying to, like, Moonlight or whatever. La
No,
La
it's
Land.
the Shape of Water.
The Shape of
Oh,
Water.
yeah, Shape of Water. Yeah.
Like, those are all like movies that are. I said this earlier about Henry Cavill, but they're like passion projects. They're something that people have spent all their time, no budget. Like, they're working hard on this. Not that the Russo brothers didn't work hard on Infinity War, but it's just not the same because you don't get the whole general population wanting to go see The Shape of Water.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's supposed to be for a select group of people. In my opinion, it's more of an elitist type movie, and it fits in with those kind of awards.
But then why can't a movie like Black Panther fit in with The Shape of Water? For me, it does. For me, I think is when you look at it story structure wise, I mean, The Shape of Water is just a current example of something like that. But The Shape of Water is great on so many levels because it looks beautiful, it's got a great story, and the characters are awesome. I also think Black Panther looks beautiful. I think it has great story. It has a great antagonist, a great protagonist. It has excellent performances.
I also feel like
And just kind of, I think it deserves it. I think it deserves to be mentioned.
it's coming from, like, there's a history behind it too. I'm thinking comic books. Like, there's already this world built up around it, and even if you've never seen a Marvel, even if you read the comic books, you don't have to see the Marvel movie to, like, envision it in your head. But if you say The Shape of Water, and I have no idea.
Yeah.
And, like, that's my just justification of why they don't need to be included. It's just because there's a history behind this franchise already, and you don't have to be included in that. You're already, 40 years into something.
Yeah.
And this is just the next chapter of representing that
But Lord of the Rings one. So where's that?
Well, I think this is what this from what you both are saying. This is what I'm interpreting it as.
No, fuck that.
Yeah.
No, here's where we fight.
No, look at so like what you were saying, Brian. Like a lot of the Academy Award winning films are like artistic. Like most of them are passion projects. Like they really want to make these movies because
Like it's original soundtracks.
yeah, it's an original film, whatever, right? So except for Lord of the Rings, but the difference is like when you make something like The Shape of Water, Guillermo del Toro made it for the purpose of telling a specific story that had a specific theme, and I want to tell this story because in this way, because this is the ultimate theme behind it. In some way, people think these people are monsters, but they're really not. And whatever. So there's like an overall overarching social theme maybe that they're trying to tell. So that makes it a passion project. That makes it auteurs, whatever, people that are critically acclaimed filmmakers. Like that's what that is. Difference between that and Black Panther, in my opinion, is like that was created based off a property that's already been made, that already has a history, and they were just making it to make a Black Panther movie. But who's the director for that?
Ryan Coogler.
Yeah, Ryan Coogler made it with, okay, yeah, I want this character, but I also want to throw these things in there too and make it, you know what I'm saying? So I think that's the difference.
Yeah.
Speaking
possibly.
of Coogler, like his Fruitvale Station movie, that is a piece of like very prominent art with an interpretation on everyday life that happens around us.
Right.
And then Black Panther's in a fantasy world, and I know you can argue Lord of the Rings to the death, but it's just, I don't know. I just feel like there's a difference between that and honestly, I think it's a very elitist group of people that do the Academy Awards, so those people deserve to win their own awards.
I guess I see it as partially like taking that stigma away. I think if you start saying like you can't win this because you were big before you got here.
I'm not saying you can't win it. I'm just saying it's got to be something.
But then you're saying
really
you don't
special.
deserve it.
I'm saying it's got to be something really special because you're going off of a lot
But
of
you
this
don't
stuff
think-
is already made for you. You're just putting it into live action.
But don't you think that The Dark Knight was really special? And that it deserved it deserved to at least be nominated? I'm not saying that it could have won, but I think it should have been nominated. Like I was just talking about, that story structure. I don't care how long Batman's been around. That's a amazing film. You put cops in place of those characters, it might actually win an Oscar if it wasn't Batman and the Joker.
Yeah, but it was a different time too.
Right, but that's why I'm saying, like, if that comes out now,
it wasn't a year where there was 6 other superhero movies.
Right, but that's why I'm saying, like, why
Because
deny
it was
the
an
acclaim?
outlier at the time, and now the
But it was the
popular
biggest movie in the world that year.
Most popular film?
Yeah, but it was also like that.
artistic
It was like
achievement.
one of the most critically acclaimed movies of that year too, and
All
it
right,
didn't even get nominated.
What was the movie that year that won?
Exactly. That's my point, though. That's my point. Is that I don't remember, but I
Your
remember
point
The Dark
is
Knight
You
because
don't
I
have
remember
to
how
win an
brilliant that
award
is.
to be a memorable movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
That's
yeah.
exactly the point.
And it
But it
didn't win.
also proves that just because you don't win an award doesn't mean you didn't deserve to be recognized for it. They should have been recognized. I'll defend that to the day I die. They should have been nominated. Yeah, I agree with the fact that it didn't win, but it should have at least been nominated. And a lot of people at the time said the same thing. And we're still here many years later, and we're still talking about it. And I think that's kind of backwards.
What year did Dark Knight come out?
2008, and No Country for Old Men was the winner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's a badass movie.
So was The Dark Knight.
Well, I agree with both of you. I'll be the middleman, right?
Middleman Leo.
Yeah,
over
so,
here.
like,
Fuck.
But no,
Juan, what are your thoughts?
Tom Cruise is great.
Yeah.
But I agree
He'll
with
never
Joey.
listen to this.
I think there's some films that come out that deserve to be considered, because they're great, kind of like a Guillermo del Toro movie where it's great genre, but then it's
right.
also great like film. It's a great
Pacific
film.
Rim does not deserve that honor.
Yeah.
Big to differ.
Yeah. So So I agree with that, but at the same time, Brian, I think you're right too. Like the reason why it don't win is because it is kind of elitist. Like, oh well, it's a Batman movie. They're not gonna win Best Picture. Come
I
on,
also feel like you have to let go of your
Smug.
fanboy, and
Dude, I watch the Oscars every year, and I watch most of those movies that get nominated. I am a fanboy, yes, but I think that every now and then there are those movies that deserve to be up there with those movies, and I'm not the only person that thinks it. I'm the reason people are like me are the reason why the Oscars still can't figure this out. Because we're in the middle, because I'm in the middle, and I'm saying I love the Oscars.
but
I wish you would recognize the movies.
It's a slippery slope, though, because you will slowly become. You know how we're making jokes.
Yeah.
You will become the MTV Movie Awards if you don't maintain the elitist attitude of like this is what we look for in a film. Sure,
But these movies,
I had
if they
more,
have it,
I had more fun at The
Yeah.
Dark Knight, but I think No Country for Old Men is a better film.
what was your favorite part of No Country for Old Men?
The nail gun.
That's what everybody says because that's the only thing you can remember.
Tommy Lee Jones.
I'm just saying that movies can be iconic and be still huge, massive hits and still be recognized as legitimate pieces of art. To delegitimize something like that just because it's a big deal is, to take your term, a slippery slope in the wrong direction.
Trope.
Yeah.
Slippery slope. Well, then Logan won, or not, didn't win, but they got nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay last year.
Yeah.
I thought that was
a beautiful
huge.
film, and
Yeah.
that is an awesome film.
Yeah.
Overrated.
It's because you
Yes.
like X-Men Origins Wolverine.
I'm more of an X-23 fan.
She was in it.
What?
I actually didn't see it.
Yeah, I should probably not.
Just delegitimized everything you were arguing against right now.
All right, well.
Don't cut this out.
No. I'm not gonna- so,
We all know Leo's not going to work extra hard on this.
just going to leave it all in. But yeah, I agree with both of you.
I was also thinking I wasn't going to have jack shit to say about the Oscars, and then Joey got me all fired up. So
For all the Oscars that you never watched.
I watched Guillermo del Toro fuck that fish.
Oh, man.
Well, that's an argument people make about the Oscars too. Why it's not popular is because they nominate films that a lot of people have not seen.
Well, I was upset when a white guy didn't win.
Here's I'll do one more on the Oscars thing, and then
That is a joke.
I'll do one more on the
It's a
Oscars thing,
joke.
and then I'll
Don't
drop
at
it.
me.
The year that Pan's Labyrinth came out, it got nominated for Best International Film, and it didn't win. Can you name the movie that won?
What year?
It's probably 2010, maybe.
Transformers.
Best international film. The correct answer is some obscure German film that nobody will ever see again and nobody ever saw then. But that,
Right.
for me, is like where I really started to lose my faith in some of the choices that were being made.
Why
I'm
do
only
you have-
putting it out there
Why do you
just
have so
because
much
I'm a fan.
faith in these people, man?
Because when they get it right, they get it right, and they pick movies like The Shape of Water.
An accounting firm picks all these winners.
I mean,
Until they screwed it up
Hollywood
one
is
time.
a disgusting place, and you want them to pick your favorite movie? I think you've got other issues.
No, I think I know what I like, and I think a lot of other people know what they like too. And we just want it to be
It doesn't have
recognized.
to be what you like.
But I just want it to be recognized for the art that it is. Also in the eyes of people who describe themselves as being auteurs and stuff like that. I mean, Christopher Nolan is not just some chump dude. He's an
Yeah.
acclaimed filmmaker
Yeah.
who also happened to make 3 Batman movies.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Excuse
I
me.
think that goes to the whole, just overall, like how genre films in general are not regarded as
Yeah.
like Oscar-worthy films. Even though a lot of them have been nominated, but
Yeah.
like just in general, like
It still hasn't really
sci-fi
gotten
and-
over
But I
that
mean-
hump, and like we said, like Lord of the Rings is really the only one that got there. But it was
Right.
also considered literary masterpiece before
Right.
it got there
Right,
too.
yeah.
So
has a history.
what if Lord of the Rings comes out now? What if you make a movie based on
What would be even
the
better?
Witcher series?
Oh, don't bring this back up.
No, but I'm using that as like a modern fairy tale kind of fantasy element, and what if it's that good, and if it is of the same quality, does it not deserve to be recognized because it's not legitimate art going into it, or just because it came out in 2010 as opposed to 1890, or, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. What if the Tomb Raider movie was like the shit?
Yeah.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Transformers.
Transformers.
Like, also, they really were just, is the word pigeonholing them, like, themselves?
Who?
Like, they were just, for this made-up, stupid award they were trying to give
Yeah.
to a comic book movie, they were only, like, just trying to, like, we gotta pick the best comic book movie this year because they keep pumping those things out hand over fist.
And making tons of money.
And they're making tons of money, so we got to give them an award so they can put it on their DVD cover and sell billions of dollars worth of that. Like, who gives a fuck? I'm gonna buy that movie because it was a badass movie. I don't need like Academy Award. You know how many Academy Award movies I've seen or like, they won the award, I have to go watch it. I didn't watch Shape of Water. I didn't.
You like 3-6 Mafia, right? They're Academy Award winners.
Yeah, I didn't watch that movie
Hustle
with
and
Terrence Howard, Maine.
3-6 Mafia.
Yeah,
I didn't
Hustle
see
and
that.
Flow. Like,
Academy
I haven't
Award
watched any.
winners.
I don't go to movies to watch those. I mean, I'll go see White Boy Rick, and hopefully it seems like it's cool enough to win. But
It's just because you feel like that's your story. Being
yeah, because I'm gonna be a fucking gang lord, bro.
Nice. All right. Well, yeah, that was great. That
Right.
was great. It was a good conversation.
I gotta take my sweatshirt off. I'm fucking hot.
He got heated. He got real
Fan
heated.
art, too.
All right, so let's just try and get through this one really quick, though.
Seriously.
Sorry, we kind of cut you out of that one, Leo.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Yo, thanks. Finally turned on the AC in this place.
All right. Oops, I just closed my app that had my notes. All right, so yeah, and what a surprise! I have another comic book movie topic for our next topic.
We're just hitting all the topics.
This is the comic book movie. The comic book movie
What was after
episode.
this?
Who says we're not diverse?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
I
okay,
like this one, though.
I don't know if I have one for this one, honestly. Like I said, we
But-
prepped like 10 minutes before we started.
All right. I got
Um,
one, but don't take it, because you know what mine is.
I forgot what this topic
Okay,
is.
so next topic is comic books that we want to see made into something live action. So movie, TV show, whatever, right? I'll just name this. For a long time, mine was Walking Dead, and then they made it, and I was super excited until season whatever it is now.
2.
So, yeah.
That's where.
It really was great for one season, yeah.
Yeah, that first episode again. I talked about it last time. They're freaking awesome, man. So go ahead, Brian. What's your?
I'm going to say this one because Joey got me to read it about 3 years ago.
Oh, I know. Yeah, go ahead.
Scalped.
Yeah.
But there's rumors that it's going to be on WGN.
Right, and it's still kind of in
Yeah.
development. It's weird.
But you
they've
should
been
be
running the
excited.
Casting.
You should be excited because Supernatural's on there, right?
No, that's the
Don't say that. Don't say
CW,
that.
bro.
Don't talk about Scalped and Supernatural. At the
That's the
same
CW.
sentence.
Well,
It's
wait,
the
what
same
did you say?
thing.
WGN.
It's the
WG,
CW.
it's same
dude.
thing.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, it
CW.
is.
Where?
You don't
In
watch
Chicago.
because- yeah.
Okay, I didn't
Anywhere
grow
in the
up
United
here,
States.
so I don't know
Yeah,
that.
CW.
Wow.
Anywhere in the United States. It's a
No,
superstation.
it's the same,
No,
yeah.
all right.
CW,
so,
yeah.
fuck you guys. I don't know that the CW is WGN. CWGN, I guess.
Anyway, go ahead.
But maybe I would have a little bit more faith if I knew it was on the CW. When they said it was on WGN, I didn't understand that.
CW.
Now it's not
Oh,
my most.
Wow, that's not so
It's
bad.
actually,
then.
it's actually part of the Arrowverse now.
Yeah. All right. So Scalped it's taking place on a reservation, and a Dashiell Bad Horse is a character that grew up on this reservation. It's corrupt. What is it? Red Crow.
Yeah.
Red Crow's trying to build this casino or has a casino, and he's like the
Big mob boss.
big mob boss, and it's all contained inside the reservation, so it's pretty cool. And Dashiell Bad Horse leaves, comes back. He's star football player, this, that, the other athlete, becomes a FBI agent,
Yeah.
goes undercover inside, and like it just seems like it's The Wire meets Breaking Bad meets. I don't want to be offensive here. Is
Native Americans.
Native American?
Yeah.
I just want to make sure.
Yes.
It's just the Native American
What were you
culture.
gonna say? Don't worry, we'll cut it out. Don't cut it out.
I'm not gonna say anything.
Let him say it.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah. No.
But-
yeah. That sounds cool.
But it's just like he goes through and like his mom's there and she's involved because she's doing drugs, and then something happens to her because Red Crow, he becomes addicted to drugs, and it's just him getting better, worse, trying to fix his community on this reservation.
It's a hell of a drama, basically. Like,
Yeah, I mean, it's only 10, what is it, 10?
It's 10 volumes.
10 volumes.
10 volumes, yeah. So written over, I think, like almost 10 years, something like that. But
Oh, wow.
I agree with Brian. I think that would be one that I was always kind of upset that it never got picked up by like HBO.
But I'm a big fan of The Wire on the HBO.
Yeah.
If anybody's seen it, one of the top, and Breaking Bad on WGN AMC.
Yeah, this is like it has all that. It has all those makings.
W.
The W.
It has all those makings of being like a pretty incredible crime drama. It's really good.
And they don't
Characters
even
are awesome.
They don't even have to like do a direct like from page to page to on scene. They could do their own thing. They like there's other series that have done that, like your favorite Riverdale.
Yeah, I like Riverdale.
Yeah, they've
Riverdale.
just interpreted it their own way, and it's its own continuity, and it could be its own thing and great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could totally be its own self-contained story. Yeah, absolutely.
It's like
There's a lot to just explore there with a lot of really cool characters.
I think you
really
could call
unique
it Bad Horse.
Bad Horse. Yeah.
And I'd
Yeah,
watch
if you want to,
To make it,
move away from the stigma of calling it scalped. But I mean, the other reason why I think this is why it's having a tough time getting produced is that, as you well know from reading it, it shines a hell of a spotlight on what it is to live in a reservation.
Yeah.
And the things that Native Americans have to go through, even in the modern era. And that's a big part of it, is like the struggle. And he's coming, Dashiell Bad Horse is coming back to this stuff, and he hated it so much that's why he ran away in the first place. Now he has to come back to this place that he hates because he can't really help them, and they're doing things to themselves in his eyes, and not picking themselves up and making themselves better. So it's an incredibly complex story.
Yeah.
There's a lot there.
That I haven't read the book, but I know you guys. Joey told me about it, and then we saw it in the comic shop when we went out.
Were we in Tampa?
Yeah, Tampa. Yeah. But yeah, speaking of just shining a light on like reservation life and what it's like there. Movie came out in last year, Wind River. Have you seen that one?
I had heard
it
about
won
it.
an Academy Award.
Yeah. Did it?
I think it got nominated.
I don't think so.
I think it actually did get nominated.
Yeah, it did get nominated. Jeremy Renner, Elizabeth Olsen. It was actually really good, but ultimately it takes place on a reservation. There's a murder, so it covers a lot of that. But yeah, it shows you like one thing in particular is how Native women are abused and they go missing all the time,
right,
in places like that all the time, and no one cares, or it doesn't get solved or whatever. Like they don't put any resources on it. So
I remember hearing quite a bit of it from my girlfriend as well. She ended up seeing it, and it was just her telling me that. And I remember the marketing, like I've seen commercials and maybe a trailer before going into it, but I think that's exactly kind of the point that we were even trying to bring up with Scalped, is like nobody wants to see that. Like they don't want to acknowledge that kind of thing. We're getting into real political talk here.
yeah,
So,
hey, it's all right.
but it's like it's just part of like the only reason I bring it up is kind of like, again, another movie industry thing that's still surprising that it is, but it's billed in those, if you go back and like you watch those ads, it's billed as like Jeremy Renner and Elizabeth Olsen.
Yeah.
It's kind of this like crime noir detective whodunit, and then you find out what the story really is. You're like, oh, it is way deeper than that.
Yeah, it was a
is
surprise. Yeah,
really deep.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
The name of that movie reminds me of a Zelda video game.
Wind River, Wind Waker,
Yeah.
Wind Waker.
Little cartoon Zelda.
Yeah, well, you guys are getting fucking heavy. You gotta break that shit up.
I got so I this will actually lighten it up quite a bit. So mine, I agree with Brian. I would love to see that one. Obviously, here's a little bit of a curveball because it technically was already made, but I want them to remake it and invest lots of money and make it great. Is still a comic book property because that's what it started. Is a Dragon Ball Z movie. I would love
That's a manga.
to see a Dragon Ball Z movie. Yeah, it is a manga, which are Japanese comic books that you read backwards.
I mean,
But I would love, especially after seeing Leo, you bring up Man of Steel. I love Man of Steel. One of the reasons, one of the things that I love about Man of Steel is that fight at the end between Zod and Superman is such a huge brawl, and it's the first time that you get to see a or at least in my opinion, a CGI fight that's like all CGI, but it when you watch it on film, you feel it. Like you feel those hits, and it looks big, and it feels big. It doesn't feel goofy. And seeing all that, and then seeing it again.
Would you do it with aliens? Like, you're
with the Dragon Ball Z stuff?
Yeah.
I think you would. I think you start with the Saiyan saga.
Do you do Piccolo as like just a big African guy, or do you make him Namekian?
You just cast Jaimin Hansu as Piccolo? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
It's like what was that movie?
Do you keep it on Earth, but like?
No, I think you go full sci-fi. You go full sci-fi. That's the point that I'm trying to get to too. Is like, Man of Steel kind of introduces it, and then I think they really do a good job. Judge me. But in Batman vs Superman, when they're all fighting Doomsday, those huge explosions, those power, all that power coming out of him and Doomsday, like all those big power blasts, like like borderline Kamehamehas. I'm like, it can be done. Like those movies are doing it. I just don't know why Hollywood hasn't been able to crack that code, because that teenage Dragon Ball movie was the worst piece of garbage. Like, even if you're not a Dragon Ball fan, there's no way to enjoy it. Like, and if you're a Dragon Ball fan, you hate it even more.
But like, I'm just trying to.
They also
think
cast
like,
a white Goku, which is
I'm trying to
like
just
Last
think how you do
Airbender.
it.
yeah.
Like, I'm just trying to figure out how you actually do it live action. And
You start with the Saiyan Saga. You treat Goku like Superman. He's finding out who he is.
Because he could beat Superman in a fight.
Well, not. That's for another several episodes.
But
where I prove you wrong.
It's just, it seems like it's so far out there. I'm trying to think of something that I could compare it to that's live action, and I just can't.
But that's why I'm saying, like, I think that's a movie that can explore that avenue, and it could do it in a fun way.
Like, I guess if Marvel was doing it, because Guardians of the Galaxy kind of
Marvel
fits
can't
that.
make all the movies you like.
No. I'm just saying, like, if you do it in that same vein.
No, I completely agree with you, actually. I make fun of you, but I was actually thinking the same thing. Because think about it, when we're like going into Guardians of the Galaxy, what is this? How are they going to make it work? They made it work.
Yeah. It's better than Star Wars.
It's better than Attack of the Clones.
It's better than Last Jedi.
Easy. Juan, you're listening to this. I know you are. Shut up.
Nice. Well, those all sound great. I never got into like Dragon Ball Z. I know a lot of my friends were really into it, but never.
I think just go on it. I think you could do Dragon Ball.
I don't want to see that.
Yeah, but I think you could do Dragon Ball comparative to Dragon Ball Z.
My approach to this movie is you treat it like Spider-Man: Homecoming did, where like you don't tell an origin story because everybody knows who this character is. Even casual people know who Goku is. Goku is the I mean,
my mom knows who Goku is.
That's what I'm saying.
They've probably seen this. I mean, they know
shit,
who it
I'm
is,
wearing
yeah.
Goku.
Right, but is he like for me, I think Goku, even if you don't know his name, I think that is the most iconic anime character, at least in the West.
Yeah.
At least in the West.
Yeah,
you see who that guy who's like, oh, he's the Dragon Ball Z guy. You know he's the Dragon Ball Z guy, right? So you don't have to, for me, you don't have to go into a ton of depth explaining his origin story. That's why I say you start with the Saiyan saga. This guy who is the best fighter on Earth. That's all you say. He's the best fighter on Earth. You throw it in there. We live in a society where a new superhero movie comes out every month. To see fantastic things with guys shooting energy out of their hands and all these transforming and stuff like that is not. You don't have to explain that anymore. You do a little bit of explanation to set up who the character is, what this world is, and then you go right into it, just like Spider-Man: Homecoming did. They didn't give us a new origin story for Spider-Man. We know who Spider-Man is. We don't need to. Same thing with Batman vs Superman. You do 10 minutes of this is what became of Batman, how he became. You do the same thing for Goku. He was found. He got adopted by his grandfather and was raised, and then that was it. Superman did the same thing, actually.
Yeah.
They did a really brief origin story in Man of Steel, and then they went on with the rest of the movie.
20 minutes.
That's where you do that.
20 minutes on Krypton.
Exactly. And then like the Saiyan saga, just to give it a little bit of like quick background, but the Saiyan saga is him essentially finding out that he is an alien, much like Superman. So he's been living on this planet. These aliens come down, they look like him, and they're like, you're a Saiyan. You're not from this Earth. You are from a planet that died, and we're here to take over. Vegeta is essentially Zod.
Yeah.
Goku is Superman. Do
so
that.
I should go watch Superman movies.
Man of Steel.
Yeah, do yourself a favor.
Wait.
Christopher Reeve.
Superman is American.
It's true.
Wow.
It's true.
Edit.
Yep, you lost me on that one.
Technically, Goku's not even Japanese.
All right.
What's yours?
I don't have one.
What the?
I honestly I don't read comic books that much. I just started reading them, and I can't name one
That you would want to see?
one that I want to see. The only one was like Walking Dead, like I said. So.
Oh yeah, you did say that, but I thought you were gonna hit me with like a home run here.
No.
Wow,
Or something
drop
old.
something deep.
Yeah. But you made me think of something for a future episode.
Casper?
We can do something. Yeah. They should make a new Heathcliff movie.
Calvin and Hobbes.
I almost spit out every amount of beer that I had in my face.
You know what? They need to do Heathcliff right, man.
Heathcliff. Woo, that's a throwback. That's a poor man's Garfield right there.
Exactly.
I was thinking Huxtable.
Heathcliff.
Oh man.
Oh yeah, but you made me think of a topic for another day. Is like remaking old movies, because obviously that's a big thing. Remaking movies, blah blah blah. But I think they do it wrong. They remake good movies or movies that were popular at one time. They should go back and remake movies that, like movies from the 80s or 70s that they couldn't have great special effects. So this is what you got.
Honestly,
So go back and remake them.
yeah, and actually to bring up a point that you actually made when you were talking about the Spirit, you mentioned the Phantom. I actually really liked the Phantom as a kid.
Yeah.
I would love to see like a really dark Phantom movie that really digs into like the mythology of what this character is, like the history, like of the hundreds of years of and several generations of Phantoms that came before him.
Yeah.
And not cast Billy Zane and cast a legitimate actor to actually be this character. Like that would be a cool story to see.
And they actually already did it with Judge Dredd. They made a crummy one with
Full circle.
Yeah,
right?
with Sylvester Stallone. It was awful, right? And then they made the new one with dang it, I forgot his name.
Carl Urban.
Carl Urban, which I didn't even know that was him.
Carl Weathers?
No, LeVar Burton.
You're thinking LeVar Burton?
Have I told you guys that thing?
Yes, you have. It's,
Okay.
it's in the first episode. I couldn't.
Did
I say that?
I'm still flabbergasted. I don't understand why.
How do I forget that?
I think Dave Chappelle said cocaine is a hell of a drug.
Snuff.
Apparently.
Snuff is a hell of a drug.
Munich snuff.
But yeah, so that's for another time. Remaking movies that were bad
See that
into something that's good.
You just didn't have an answer because you already got the movie you wanted.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Judge Dredd.
No,
Now Carl Urban is also an actor that I really like, and I want him to be Batman one day.
to sidetrack us a little bit.
To digress.
Yes, I just wanted everyone has said it now. I was looking on Instagram, and Marvel's putting out a new comic about the first Ghost Rider,
Mm-hmm.
and it's him riding on a woolly mammoth.
Nice.
I saw that, and it's like on the comic panel. I don't know if it was real or not.
Is it
but
written by Deadpool?
I don't fucking know, man. But I like
Written and
laughed
drawn by
out.
Wade
I
Wilson.
laughed out loud at it. I was like, "What the fuck is this? Like, are they really trying to like the first Ghost Rider?
That is a Ghost Rider that I would be interested in.
Who is he fighting? Like, who's he smiting? That guy just clubbed a woman and is dragging her back.
Oh man.
Hell of a story.
All right. Well, we had another topic, but I feel like if we included this, it's gonna mess everything
Might
up.
be crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're gonna just go to the last topic, which is our weekly topic. Is
Wait, what was our?
that one the favorite toys,
Oh,
action
shit.
figures? Yeah. We'll have to talk.
I'd have
To
to
be continued.
save
Yeah.
it.
We'll save it. Yeah. This was already.
I feel like, in all honesty, we gotta have Juanito here.
Yeah, because he's a big collector. He needs to be here to talk about
Very
his
true.
40-inch Ninja Turtles.
Talking dirty.
That's what I like.
It's one hell of a shredder.
Spreader.
Spreader. So yeah, that's our last segment coming up, which is what are you on? Joey, what are you on?
Bam.
What have you been on?
I'm
last- since we
gonna
last talked to you?
defer. I'm gonna defer
Okay,
this one.
Brian,
I
what do you
gotta
want?
think a little bit.
Methamphetamine.
Not right now. I mean, like the past week.
I'm gonna take your answer.
Okay.
Spider-Man,
Oh, nice. Yeah.
the video game.
Yeah.
I'm only like 20% in, so I don't have a lot to talk about. I did just fight the Shocker though,
Oh, so did I. Yeah.
and the suit that he had on is badass. I don't know, the freeness of the game. And yes, it's repetitive, it's button mashing, but it's way more beautiful than Arkham, and it's way more beautiful than not Prince of Persia.
Yeah, Prince of Persia.
No,
Yeah.
what's Assassin's
Assassin's
Creed.
Creed. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like even though the concepts are the same there's just something about being Peter Parker swinging around and then, being Mary Jane for one mission.
I think you get to be. Well, I don't want to spoil it, but
Yeah, fuck off.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I'll never play.
but no,
Yeah,
yeah.
because you've got your Xbox.
It's true.
Yeah. PS4 exclusive. No, I agree. I think it's a great game. You know what I like about it is that it's different from Arkham because with Batman, he's like a tank, right?
Yeah.
He's a tank. He could stand there. He could take boosts. He just counters. But with Spider-Man, he needs to dodge. You need to do aerials.
I want to get into this real quick. How the fuck does Spider-Man lift 1,500-pound brick and then gets knocked out by a mugger? What the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Like, I'm getting killed by this Joe Schmo on the street, but I'm picking up
He's just come up to
2,000-pound rocks.
I thought that was comical, like the way they just come up and just suck you. And then you're dead.
They're fighting you like you're just a regular dude and not, the strength of a spider.
It's true.
It just pisses me off. I don't understand it. And it's even in the movies. He gets flicked around like he's nothing, and then he delivers like the striker. He's lifting a bus up and throwing it. Like, the fuck? Make up your mind. Are you weak? Are you strong? Are you? But the game is great.
Nice.
I want to finish it. I've already heard a few spoilers about it.
Yeah.
But I'm excited.
I haven't heard the major spoiler, like where the story goes, but I've seen the costumes and all that. So
It does some good things, like if you played Grand Theft Auto 4, like there's like subtle hints that those characters are living in current New York City even though they live in Liberty City. Like there's missions you do, which is pretty awesome. And then on top of that, I'm still all in on Fortnite. There's a lot of lore there that I'm digging into.
Yeah, you were explaining it earlier.
Yeah, I'm
That
not
sounds
gonna.
cool.
I got, as Joey said, my conspiracy theory 10 hat on, and like I'll believe anything the internet tells me.
What's your Snoke theory?
He's Jar Jar Binks. No. Snoke is working for Jar Jar Binks. Is that what it was? I was all in on that when that came out back in the day.
Hey, it could be true. I mean, look at what happened in Solo. Did you see that yet?
Yeah, I saw
Okay.
Solo. Oh, Mr. Sunday Movies, I've watched a clip he made of, it was casting decisions that were going to be made. It's a hysterical clip. We'll put it in the link, right? We'll link it in our
absolutely.
description.
The show notes.
And it was all these movies that Michael Jackson was going to be casted in, and Michael Jackson wanted to be Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah, Jar Jar Binks, that was a real one. Yeah.
Fuck.
The only reason he backed out of it, and Lucas even talks about this too. The only reason he backed out of it is because he wanted to be in a suit. He wanted it to be him dressed up as a creature. And Lucas was like, "Well, I got some new technology I want to work out. I want to create a full CGI character." And Michael just moonwalked away.
It was. And no, the story that he was explaining is the guy who played the character. I don't know his name.
Oh, Ahmed Best.
Yeah,
Ahmed Best.
yeah.
Yeah. And Michael Jackson were hanging out with George Lucas, and George Lucas introduced them, and Michael Jackson's reaction to meeting Ahmed Best was, "Oh," and like that was it.
Was this after he was Jar Jar Binks?
Yeah.
He's like,
Michael Jackson is a massive Star Wars fan.
He's a huge
Yeah,
nerd.
he was a massive Star Wars fan.
is a huge nerd. He's still out there.
That's true. That's you know what? That's true. He is the Moonwalker.
Yeah.
All right,
He
but
just turned into a giant Gundam robot and then went to heaven, just like in that, just like in that video.
Like the
but
game. Yeah.
that's what I'm on. Like
Nice.
just playing that Spider-Man game. I'm waiting to dive into some new TV series for the next one.
Nice.
Starting with Jessica Jones because you hate yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to go next?
Disgusting. Yeah, I am really into. This is about as nerdy as it gets. Much like Brian's tin hat. This is less of a tin hat, but it's a lot of YouTube videos because I don't own the DVDs. But every volume of the Game of Thrones series has had about a 1-hour documentary where some of
Holy fuck.
I'm telling you. You doubted me. Here it goes. I can feel my virginity coming back.
Deep cuts.
Dude, can you go through every single hour?
I'm gaining my virginity back right now. See, my voice just cracked. On every volume of Game of Thrones, there is like about a 1-hour documentary where it's actually like an animated comic. So if you've ever seen an animated comic, it's just still images that kind of move with a narrator that's reading over it and describing the story basically. But in these, it's actually the history of Game of Thrones leading up to the current storyline that's being broadcast on television.
Nice.
So certain chapters are told, maybe 20, 30 years before the current storyline. Other chapters are told like 5 to 6 to 8,000 years before, during different eras. Like there's the era of heroes and I can't remember some of the other ones, like the legendary era or something like that. But there is just a lot that gets explored in those things, and they're really, really cool. So if you're a fan of the series, or just fantasy in general, I'm not the biggest fantasy fan, but I'm captivated by Game of Thrones. I really love that show. And I'm also, as well I'm a big backstory guy.
Yeah.
I really love lore. I love mythology behind my heroes and behind the stuff that I love. And man, George R.R. Martin just really crafted some great stuff, and it's awesome, like Crash Course stuff. Like you can sit down, watch an hour, and then so much more, and it really adds to like that current season or a season that's upcoming, something like that. You get the history of a particular family and how they came to power. Like one of them that's a really good example is, you think the Lannisters have been around for this really, really long time. If they've always been rich, it turns out that they actually like descended from another family because they basically like took their money. They're not one of like the Starks have been around longer, but the Lannisters came in and they did something and they took another family's money and made themselves this thing. Like, very dynamic, it adds a lot to it, and if you're a big fan of like history and backstory and mythology, that is super cool stuff. You could just Google it, like history of Game of Thrones or anything like that, and there would be some interesting playlists. Nice. It's really cool, and especially going to the last season, I recommend it. It's cool. It enriches a lot of that stuff that you've already seen.
Yeah, but you have a year and a half before the last season,
which is why I'm not done. I think I've got like 4 more left or something.
You got
like
4 hours before. You got to finish 4 hours before 9.5 months or
that's it.
15.5 months.
Yeah.
Don't worry, there's a lot of My Hero Academia.
Yeah, well, it's like the reason why you read the Star Wars canon books, just like so when you watch the movie, you're like, oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of connects the two, and
like when you read Catalyst before watching like Rogue One.
That's like the most like. Sorry, I'm gonna go back to episode 1 of this podcast that we're 2 into now. But when you were like the soundtrack or the score, like, dude, what the fuck? Come on, just give me straight up action story. Let's go.
Hey, do you like it or not? Just tell me you like it.
Look. Kendrick Lamar can't do the score of every film. Right? He's only one little man.
Hans Zimmer can't make every score.
Oh, love me some Hans Zimmer.
James Horner, rest in peace.
Now LP is gonna come out with the Blade Runner 2076 score, and then you're gonna lose your mind, and I'll be like, told you.
Except that movie will never get made because nobody will ever make another Blade Runner, even though that last one was awesome.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. But
it made like $4.
Yeah.
It was great.
And they were all 4 of my dollars.
Same here.
I could have watched that on the plane, but instead I watched. I went on a long trip recently.
Yeah, 2 out of the 3 of us. Well, 3 out of the 4, but 1.
Yeah, went on a long trip, but I watched. So I could have watched that, but I didn't. I could have watched Justice League. I started and watched like 5 minutes. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna watch this.
Yeah, good choice.
Ready Player One. which I thought was
yeah.
good.
I actually like Ready Player
Yeah,
One.
I like it.
I like that.
So I popped 2 or 3 Benadryls before I got on the plane, and I was like, oh, hell yeah, they got Isle of the Dogs on here.
I was gonna watch that.
I turned it on, and the Benadryl kicked in. I woke up as the credits were rolling.
What did you think was gonna happen?
I don't know.
You're on like a 10-hour flight, and then going
and then
popping
I watched.
Benadryl. You're just asking for it.
So I woke up 2 hours later, like it was exactly the length of Isle of the Dogs. I woke up and I turned on Rampage,
What an asshole.
and it wasn't bad.
It was good. I thought
I
it
liked
was
it.
okay. Yeah.
Rampage?
Yeah, it was
Rampage?
good.
I
It's
never,
alright, yeah.
And
I
I
had no desire to watch that movie.
I think Isle of the Dogs was really good.
I think it is.
It sounded good in your dream.
Yeah, I don't know what part was real, but it's all in Japanese.
Is it really?
Except for the dogs.
Oh, the dogs speak English,
Yeah.
but the characters speak Japanese.
I did make it that far.
The other one I saw was Pacific Rim
Oh, the second one, right?
Uprising. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pacific Runt. Like, that's the sequel to Isle of the Dogs.
Pacific Runt.
If Pacific, here's my thing.
Pacific Runt.
Here's my take on Pacific Rim Uprising. I hope you think it was funny. If Pacific Rim Uprising was the cutscene to a video game, it would be the best cutscenes you've ever seen. As a movie, it is like it is almost unwatchable.
Was there a
Yeah.
badunts there? Or? Like, I thought there was going to be like a joke or...
No.
No, I
it's
just
bad.
thought it was like, yeah, there's no joke.
Just the beginning
Movie's
was
a
cool when the girl makes her own like Jaeger and she's like
Yeah, it's cool.
running around and yeah.
For a second, and then I'm like,
poured it into
"Aw,
a glass? Or...
yeah.
And then
Oh, not that Jaeger.
And then I started feeling like this feels like Transformers, and I'm out now. Now it
Yeah.
just took it out of me.
Yeah.
Good effort by John Boyega. I like to see him in other movies, but
He's no Idris Elba.
no,
Yeah.
he's no Iris Elba.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so the thing I'm on, Brian already knows because he follows me on Twitter, probably. I don't know. How do you know?
Yeah, I follow you on Twitter, dude. Like, what the hell are you thinking?
Well, you know what? One of our coworkers, I've known her for 6 years, and she just started following me on Twitter. Like,
Eunice Kim?
yes, because I'm like, oh, look at this tweet on my thing, and she's like, oh, what's your name? She looks it up, and she can't find it, and then she finds my name, clicks on it. She's not following me. I'm like, Eunice. What the hell?
Shady.
So go ahead.
Speaking of Twitter, sorry. I saw this tweet the other day, and I thought it was fucking hilarious. Gym shorts under our jeans was a wild era. Did you guys do
Jesus
that?
Christ.
Yeah?
No, only white guys did that.
Wait, would you say Jim? What?
Gym shorts
Uh-huh.
under our jeans. You guys never did that?
No, I
Oh, shit,
remember
hit
friends
home.
seeing friends do that. I'm like, why are you guys doing that?
So that's a white guy thing.
That's when
huh?
I knew that I was definitely part of a different culture.
Yeah.
Because
Speaking
Are
of
you
different
poor?
cultures,
are you poor? Why are you wearing?
Why, are you poor? You can't afford underwear?
Oh, man. Well,
You
all
can
right.
fit a lot in Jenkos.
I'm going to get sad one more time. My mom used to work night shifts. So when she would leave to go to work, she would make my brother and I take a shower. This is like kindergarten, first grade.
Yeah.
And she would put us in our clothes the next day. And we'd have to sleep in them. So I'm like sleeping in jeans and my polo t-shirt to go to Catholic grade school because she would come back at 7 a.m., pick us up, and take us to school.
Yeah.
Just get up.
Yeah, so that's the kind of life I lived.
I don't even think that's sad. That's just
Oh.
efficient.
Yeah, man.
I just applaud your mom.
Smart
That
lady,
is
man.
Smart, because she made you think that that's what everybody does.
Yeah, I didn't think it was weird until I
See?
could take my pants off.
What else you gotta do? Just gotta get your lazy ass up, go
How'd
to
you-
school, man.
How'd you figure out that this was weird? Like you went to a sleepover?
Yeah,
You're
and I
like,
was trying to-
You're putting on a tie. You're like, I'm ready for bed. Oh, what?
No, I was trying to like sleep with my jeans on, and the other
Wearing a
kid's
sweater
mom was
vest.
like, "Don't you want to put some comfortable clothes on? These are comfortable. Where's the couch at? Because I don't have a bed."
Oh yeah, I was there too. I slept on a couch when I was like really young. Yeah.
Oh man.
All right, but yeah, Border Town. Let's
Yeah,
go.
there you go, Border Town. Speaking of not reading comics, that's one of the comics I started reading.
And you don't want to see that as a TV show?
It's only one episode, but yeah, of course.
Wait,
reason why I want to see it is because it's like Mexican folklore, Mexican culture.
There's been a decent
That's
amount
it.
of hype up behind it.
Oh, yeah, there's been a
I've
lot
seen
of
it
hype,
come up
yeah.
in, like, other
I've heard
articles
it's
and stuff.
selling out. Too.
Yeah, so they
Like,
they sold out and they had to start another reprinting. So they're in
It's
second print.
printing.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, I mean it's good. It's again, like I guess the way that somebody described it, it's Stranger Things with a Mexican Stranger Things.
Hey, I'm into it.
Basically, what it is.
Coco?
Yeah, it's Coco. Coco 2.
Stranger Things.
Yeah, it's Stranger Things.
Estrella?
Yeah, but no, it's good. I mean, it's set in Devil's Fork, Arizona. This kid goes to a new school, and in the background, there's all this weird stuff happening at the border.
Rest in peace, John McCain.
Yes.
True hero.
All this weird stuff happened at the border, monsters, chupacabra, and at the end they have a really cool Mexican deity that just shows up at the end. So it's pretty cool. Good first issue. Looking forward to the other ones.
Did you not say the name because it's surprising?
I said it.
No, because I don't remember what his name was. But wait,
Wait, what are you talking
what are you talking about?
No, because they're like very well-known Mexican deities.
Oh yeah, no, I don't know who it was.
I thought you were like
No,
saving
no,
us. I thought you
no,
were saving
no,
us
no,
from a
no.
spoiler.
Well, yeah, that too. Yeah.
That's a city. It's close
Yeah.
though.
Yeah. So Border Town, it's good. Go get it.
Who puts that? Is it Vertigo?
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
it's Vertigo's first.
is, huh?
Yeah, it's Vertigo's
Yeah.
first comic.
Well,
You
now
know
that
what?
they're back, huh?
I'm gonna hold on. I don't have to edit
Show
this.
and tell.
No, I'm
It
not
is
gonna
Ver-
show
It
you.
is Vertigo Comics.
So yeah, they have this new
Good for them.
new Vertigo line.
Look at that. There's
So
an
here's
Eas-
Border Town.
So there's actually an Easter egg in the. I don't know if you see it. Do you see the Easter egg in the cover? I just saw
Hold
it
on,
right
let me
away.
In the cover.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Think-
Trump?
Think Vertigo and who owns Vertigo. Ready for it? It's got a little Superman Bizarro,
Oh, nice.
Bizarro Superman
There you
pin
go.
right there because DC owns Vertigo.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's tons of DC stuff in
Well,
there.
I mean, it says DC on it.
and
Yeah,
there,
except don't be an elitist now. You didn't see it the first place.
and there is a Supergirl advertisement on the back.
An animated Supergirl movie is that? What
No, it's the old Superman or Supergirl.
series? Huh?
So they have their new lineup, right?
Mhm.
And they're all pretty.
Does Vertigo put out sex criminals?
No, that was Dark Horse.
Yeah, I think that's Dark
Sex
Horse.
Criminals is a very good series.
Yeah. So really quick, they have a all new lineup for Vertigo. I'm not gonna read all of them, but the one I thought was the most interesting was
Image Comics, Sex Criminals.
Oh, Image. Yeah, Image has a cool backstory.
Yes. it
oh
does.
yeah,
Very
go on
interesting.
Sci-Fi Wire. They have the whole history of Image Comics.
Yeah, it's
it's
pretty
awesome. So really quick, on sale in March 2019, Second Coming. Even messiahs need saving. One is a literal son of God. The other is an all-powerful superhero who might as well be a deity, and is secretly the kind of son God always wanted. Now, due to living arrangements set forth by the Almighty, they will be roommates.
What the fuck is that called?
So it's like a Superman character with Jesus.
And is that
And the cover is
that's the next issue of Border Town?
no. This is
no,
a
it's
that's a whole
new-
other-
Yeah. So the cover is the Superman character like having a thug in a headlock, and then the other one is Jesus shoving a loaf of bread down someone's throat.
I
That's
see.
how you do it. That's how you do it.
Yeah, man, they got some cool stuff in there. So yeah,
I
Good to see Vertigo come back.
almost feel like we've just like gone through 2 episodes here tonight.
oh yeah,
So
this
you
is
might-
like a 2-hour episode.
You might need to just call this episode 2 and 3.
2 and 3.
This is the Snyder cut.
This is the Snyder cut.
But like half an hour of it is like Leo trying to get us a beer.
Yeah, so Border Town, go check it out. Also reading Justice League Dark, the rebooted one.
Jesus, do you think
Oh,
they
the
could
new-
get a bigger ad here?
Yeah, I know. Snickers, they have one in each one.
Motherfucker.
Yeah.
Wow, we wow.
And it's like an ongoing story.
You wonder why Vertigo sold out to DC to get that fucking Snickers money.
Yeah, Justice League Dark with the rebooted one with Wonder Woman, Detective Chimp.
Oh, the current series.
Yeah, Swamp Thing, Zartana, and Man-Bat. and I'm in issue 2 right now.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Interesting.
Another thing that I had watched, but like this is like just me being in the wrong place at the wrong time, is that horrible show called Ozark.
Oh,
I'm
yes.
glad you
I saw
told
the
me
first
that
couple
because I was
episodes,
just
yeah.
gonna start watching.
Don't,
it. Okay,
dude.
thank God.
Jason Bateman is a great comedic actor.
It's
He
tough
is.
to take him serious.
He is not as good as Bryan Cranston, as going from Malcolm in the Middle to Walter White, because it's just not a good show, and everyone loves it, and I hate everyone that says it's a good show.
Skip it.
Skip it.
And by hate, sorry, Steve Jastro.
Was he like, man, you would really like this?
Well, he sat there and watched it hungover on a Sunday one day, and I was trying to play Fortnite, and he wouldn't get out of the living room. So I watched it with him.
Nice. Nice. All right. Well, that's our show. 2 hours.
You've got some editing to do.
Yeah. You know, almost 2 hours. But yeah, thanks, guys. Sorry Juan couldn't be here.
Next time.
Yeah, next time, Juan. We'll talk about action figures.
I think what will help is we have to do it at his apartment.
So he has no choice.
So he has no choice. Yeah.
Or we just show up and then he doesn't open the door and we just have to do it outside.
That'd be kind of cool.
Do it
Yeah.
al fresco.
All right. Well, yeah, thanks for joining us. This is the Vulgar Observer signing out.
Peace.
Night, Ted.